And we are live. And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mufasa's Daily Book Reading at noon. Welcome to another 10-minute reading of our wonderful book, The Eighth Habit, written by Stephen Covey. And we're going to be reading from the 15th chapter today. And remember, if you've missed any of the previous readings, you can catch up on all of those wonderful readings on our YouTube channel. The link to our YouTube channel is in the description of today's live. I trust that you have been keeping yourself warm, and we're about to drop some gems from this wonderful book. The chapter is titled Using Our Voices Wisely to Serve Others. So that obviously is very, very enticing already. And we're going to jump in. 10 minutes is set. And yeah, let's read. I am no longer a young man filled with energy and vitality. I'm given to meditation and prayer. I would enjoy sitting in a rocker, swallowing prescriptions, listening to soft music, and contemplating the things of the universe. But each activity offers no challenge and makes no contribution. I wish to be up and doing. I wish to face each day with resolution and purpose. I wish to use every waking hour to give encouragement, to bless those whose burdens are heavy, to build faith and strength of testimony. It is the presence of wonderful people which stimulates the adrenaline. It is the look of love in their eyes which gives me energy. And that is a quote by Gordon B. Hinckley, aged 92. We have another quote. Today we have 3 quotes as we jump into the reading. I slept and dreamed that life was joy. I awoke and saw that it was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. We have another one. I believe that the rendering of useful service is the common duty of mankind, and that only in the purifying fire of sacrifice is the dross of selfishness consumed and the greatness of the human soul set fire. That was a quote by John D. Rockefeller Jr. The inner drive to 1, find your own voice, and 2, inspire others to find theirs is fueled by one great overarching purpose, serving human needs. It is also the best means of achieving both. Without reaching out and meeting human needs, we really don't expand and develop our freedom to choose as we otherwise could. We grow more personally when we are giving ourselves to others. Our relationships improve and deepen when together we attempt to serve our family, another family, an organization, a community, or some other human need. I have a quote here by our very own Nelson Mandela written in this book. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family. The freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. But I then slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. That is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. And that's a quote by Nelson Mandela. Organizations are established to serve human needs. There is no other reason for their existence. Robert Greenleaf wrote a beautiful essay, The Institution as Servant, which applied the whole concept of stewardship to an organization. Service is the rent we pay for living in this world of ours. Willis Harman, the co-founder of World Business Academy, expressed his conviction about the institution of business itself in these words. Business has become the most powerful institution on the planet. The dominant institution in any society needs to take responsibility for the whole. But business has not made such a tradition. This is a new role, not well understood or accepted. Built on the concept of capitalism and free enterprise from the beginning was the assumption that the actions of many units of individual enterprise, responding to market forces and guided by the invisible hand of Adam Smith, would somehow add up to desirable outcomes. But in the last decade of the 20th century, it has become clear that the invisible hand is faltering. It depended on overarching meanings and values that are no longer present. So business has to adopt a tradition it has never had throughout the entire history of capitalism, to share the responsibility of the whole. Every decision that is made, every action that is taken must be viewed in light of that responsibility. The age of wisdom. I believe that this millennium will become the age of wisdom. It will come about either through the force of circumstance that enables people or through the force of conscious, or perhaps both. Remember the 5 ages of civilization's voice. The technology for the hunter-gatherer age was symbolized by the bow and arrow, the agricultural age by farm equipment, the industrial age by the factory, and the information knowledge worker age by a human being. The age of wisdom by a compass, which signifies the power to choose our direction and purpose and obey the natural laws or principles that never change and that are universal. They're timeless and self-evident. This is our magnetic north. Remember that with each infrastructure shift, over 90% of people were eventually downsized. I believe this is now happening as we move from the industrial to the information knowledge worker age. People are either losing their jobs or gradually being frustrated by the new demands of their new jobs. I personally believe that over 20% of the present workforce is becoming obsolete, and that unless they rededicate and reinvent themselves, within a few years, another 20% will become obsolete. This information age is transforming so rapidly into the knowledge worker age that it's going to take continual investment in our own education and training to stay abreast. Much of this will be done by the school of hard knocks, but people who see what is happening and who are disciplined will systematically continue their education until they acquire the new mindset and the new skill set required to anticipate and accommodate the realities of the new world. Hopefully, this will gradually move into an age of wisdom, when information and knowledge are impregnated with purpose and principles. Where is wisdom? We know that information is not wisdom. We also know that knowledge is not wisdom. Many years ago, when I was teaching at a university and working on my doctorate, I went to see a friend who was also my professor. I told him I'd like to do a dissertation on the subject of motivation and leadership, a philosophical document rather than an empirical study. He basically said to me, Stephen, you don't know enough to even ask the right questions. In other words, my knowledge was at one level, but my knowledge was at one level, but my knowledge would have to be way beyond its current level if I was to deal with the kinds of questions I would need to deal with it. This was very emotionally traumatic for me because my heart and mind were really set on taking a philosophical approach rather than the scientific approach that I eventually ended up taking. I believed that the combination of informal philosophical training I'd received during my undergraduate and graduate studies in business would be sufficient. I didn't realize until years later how right he was. It was a humbling experience. The lesson in humility was the mother of my many precious learnings and insights that would come in the years that followed. Eventually, we learn the way, eventually, we learn that the more you know, the more you know you don't know. Look at it this way. Here is a circle which represents your knowledge. Your ignorance is on the other side of that circle. So I'm going to show you. I think you can see it like that way. There we go. As your knowledge increases, what happens to your ignorance? It obviously becomes larger, or at least your awareness of your ignorance becomes larger. So the more you know, the more you realize you don't. What if you were trying to serve purposes greater than your knowledge, greater than your comfort zone? This would create genuine humility and a desire to draw upon help from others, from a partnership or team. Successfully working with others makes one's knowledge and ability productive and necessities that create a complementary team of people who possess knowledge and abilities that can compensate for and make irrelevant one's individual ignorance and weaknesses. That is as it should be. And I think that concludes our reading for today. So I'd like to read this again. Eventually we learn that the more you know you don't know. That's so nice. So I hope you enjoyed today's reading, and I will see you on Friday for our last reading. We're actually almost done with the book. I think we have one more chapter. Actually, yeah, we have 20 most commonly asked questions. That's the last chapter that we're going to be reading on Friday. I will see you on Friday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.